Hey, welcome to Backstage Talks. Today we have Gabriel here and we're just gonna work together. Welcome, Gabriel. How
Hey
are you, man?
Daniel, I'm fine and you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Excited about this and the opportunity to talk and share what we're doing, right?
Yeah, awesome. I'm very glad with the invitation that you guys made me.
Awesome. And how can I help you today? What's something that's on your mind that if you think it's gonna be an interesting conversation for us to develop here?
The first one is I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts about the dev shop business model, the regular one that sometimes make devs slaves and
Yeah,
and create a toxic environment? And I want to hear from you. What do you think?
Season is my third dev shop. So for some reason, I must like this model because I kept doing it. But I think the reason I like it is because it's service. So we can work with real people solving real problems that they, and in an intimate way, in a sense that we it's not like I don't know, a software as a service platform where you don't know your customers personally, right, and intimately. But the model itself, it's really hard, really hard as a business, because you either make money in the short term by, and I won't even go into the labor conditions and treating devs as code monkeys. Now, just when you think about doing it right, where you pay people well, you treat them with respect, all the thing that we need to do, even then you have the choice of making money in the short term, like having a good margin on top of your service, but not investing in making everybody's life better in the long run. Or you have to make little profit and invest 100% of, not 100%, but a lot of what you make, even when you're doing it right. And by the way, the option we chose is to invest 100% for a long time, uh, to make everybody's life better and create assets, create things that we can uh, reuse and create technology processes. Culture is a strong one, but it's dev shop is something that you start because you know how to code and you want to go into business, and 99% of the people doesn't understand that it's one of the hardest models to make money from and to be successful in. With that in mind, maybe I can answer your question about treating people like slaves, as you mentioned, because it's only natural. If you don't know how to position yourself in you're in the services business, you're gonna have very low margins. And when you have very low margins, you start like squeezing costs at every point. And so I wouldn't say it's a toxic environment because people want it to be a toxic environment. I would say that because people, these are not usually people that love business. They're just trying to make a living, and then growing demand, they try to serve the demand, and then they try to grow, and they they don't create an actual business. That's why it's hard and becomes so often toxic. What are your thoughts? What are, no, I want to. Why did you ask the question? What's behind it?
I asked that because uh, I'm in the process of migrating from digital marketing field to the development field, and this was one of my biggest fear. This kind of environment, it was a fear. Uh, it was, I mean, I guess not a fear, but maybe a red flag on it. So I want to hear from you as a CEO of the company what are thoughts about, because as the company is growing, having this situation in mind and having tools such as uh, improved culture, uh, think about people more than about money and profit is important. Profit is important, money is important, but people are the one who make the money come to us, right?
Yeah, especially when it's everywhere. But when you run a service agency of sorts, it's 100% people, right? So there's no way you can succeed in the long run without really caring for people.
The next question is also related to people, but more related to clients. So here in season, most of our clients, almost 100%, are North Americans. So it's a different culture, it's a different language, and I want to hear from you what were the biggest challenges that you faced, but when starting with North American or international clients.
Working, I'll talk mainly about the US because we focus almost exclusively, at least when reaching out to people. Almost when reaching out, we focus exclusively on US startups, but we have clients that reach out to us from other places. Before talking about the challenges, I wanted to share what I think we had in common and what was easier for us. And then we can definitely talk about the challenges. The thing that I like the most of working with US companies is punctuality. They are always precise with their time, and I have been like this for a long time. Like if a meeting is at 12:30, it starts at 12:30, and it's if it is supposed to end at 1 p.m., it will end at 1 p.m. Of course, there are exceptions, and there is flexibility, but usually, for example, man, for initial conversations, calls where we are getting to know a prospect, a potential client. If we are talking to a potential client from the US, the calls usually last around 15 to 30 minutes, and because they're very very uh, objective and they go straight to the point, because they know that they're like exploring. If they see something that's worth a second call, they will then schedule the second one. Here in Brazil, or sometimes with other Latin American countries or even European countries, we see like 1 hour calls that could be 15-minute call or something like that. And that was amazing when I started working with US companies, that there is this match in terms of expectations of productivity and valuing other people's time is the most amazing aspect of the American culture. And it's such an invaluable resource, our time, that it's amazing to feel that we're immersed in a culture that values that. The challenge is that you are immediately seen as outsourcing as a general thing. Like you're a foreign company selling to the US, you are in their minds initially the same as dev shops from India. And I'm not saying that there are no good dev shops from India, but they're definitely cheaper. and and we don't want to be as cheap as them. We never wanted to. But the expectation come to see like India, Pakistan, or East Europe, this kind of region. And the challenge was to create um, a number of relationships of clients that would recommend us to other clients, and then to other clients and to other clients, and say, no, these guys are the real deal. They're not the usual dev shop that will make commitments that they cannot fulfill or something like that. In short, building a reputation. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, and about the beginning of season also, this very hard path of growing a company and starting a company. I want to hear from you. What were the most valuable lessons that you think you learned in this process of beginning the company, uh, forecasting the US?
Season is my 8th company. I created 7 of them in the past before starting Season. And the challenge for me has always been that I either didn't have the patience to stick around with my previous companies and see them through, actually make sure that they reached their goals. And so a common story on those was like a year and a half, 2 years and a half down the road, I would leave and start other thing. That's my personal story. But part of it is because I didn't know that business in general is always hard. And I wish somebody had, I don't know, maybe somebody did and I didn't listen, but I wish I knew this before. And but the other part of it is that those businesses either were not as good businesses as I thought they were, and I had to learn that and decide whether I wanted to have a less profitable business but that I was happy with, or that I yeah that was the decision. I started a business, discovered that it was good but not great in terms of the potential of the business, and to decide whether to stick with it or not, I had to look inside and see if I really wanted to be doing that, because the big payoff that I expected, it was clear that it wouldn't come. And then when the big payoff didn't come, and I knew that those were not the things I wanted to do for the rest of my life, or for a decade or more, not necessarily the rest of my life, I decided to leave. So before creating Seasoned, I wanted to make sure that at least I started something that I loved enough, and I was uniquely positioned to be working with it for 10 or more years. And I think that was the main challenge, which was fast in when you count the time it took for us to reach the decision of what business to start. It was actually fast. I don't know, a couple of months or something like that. But it wasn't easy at all. I needed to do some introspection and understand what is the thing that I've been doing for most of my life that I didn't necessarily love it at the time, but I've been coming again and again and again to it. And what is the thing that people see in the way I do, the way I work, the way I serve them, that is most valuable. So trying to find something that is the most valuable thing that I ever done in my career, and that I'm willing to spend a decade or more working in it because I love it, was really hard to to come up with. But of course, as it usually is, when we came up with the idea of working with non-technical founders, it seemed like the answer was right in front of me at all times. One story that I like to tell is I I do some talks at events, etc., etc. And while I was in the process of wanting to decide what business to start, I gave a few talks on different subjects, and one talk in particular was it's a good example of the reasoning I was going through. I did a talk on burnout for social entrepreneurs. I was talking about um, actually burnout, the condition people have when they I don't work too much, especially as social entrepreneurs. They want to impact the world, but they sometimes forgot about taking care of themselves. And I totally 100% away from the startup world. The event had nothing to do with the startup world. But at the end of the talk, 100% of the people that came to talk to me after the talk were non-technical founders that wanted to find a CTO or a technical founder for their startups. And because they knew of my history, they were wanting my support or my advice or even wanted to convince me to become their CTO or something like that. So no matter what I was talking about, this is what people saw in my history that interested them. And then I said, no, this is the nail in the coffin, and this is the business we're gonna do. And Felipe and I decided to, okay, this is it. Yeah, I know I didn't answer the objective part of your question about lessons and whatnot, but I think um, this is the biggest lesson for me, which is how can you decide what you want to do for a decade or more. I think you need at least a couple of decades of experience to be able to decide what you're going to be doing for a decade or more. I don't know. Well, some people might know from the get-go. I don't know. I was watching um, a movie about Coach's Playbook that's on Netflix, and there's this coach that the first time someone ever asked him what he wanted to be to do when he grew up, he knew he wanted to be a pro basketball player. So some people know it from the get-go. It wasn't me.
It's not. It's almost everybody don't have this luck of know what to do, at least
Yeah,
maybe even for a year or right now. Imagine for the whole
yeah.
life, right? So you talked before the point where you understand, okay, this is what I want to do for the next 10 years. It was when you talk with non-technical founders. Is that right? What exactly was the moment you said, okay, that is it? There is a moment, or
For example, the story I just told you about the talk that had nothing to do with startups or non-technical founders, etc., etc. We actually already had a website for Season. We already had the name. We already had, I think we already had the enabling non-technical founder tagline, and we already had a client or two. So it was at the beginning, the company already existed, but we're still like treating it as a test. Let's see if this non-technical founders hypothesis is valid, like lean startup thinking. But when this this event happened, I didn't need the test anymore. I knew it was the company, because even if I didn't want to do it, people would be asking me to do it, and that's very powerful. Many people um, think about their professional career in terms of what do I want to do, and the best thing you can do is to ask yourself, what do people want me to do? What do they value me for? And then, of course, if it's something you hate to do, maybe you shouldn't do it. But even then, if it's something you hate to do, maybe you should just value it more, and make sure you're well compensated for this service, and then you can do what you want to do. I wouldn't recommend doing what you hate, but even then, it's an interesting thing. You can do what you hate for a while, and for a couple of hours a day or 3 hours a day, and then do what you love um, in other moments. But the best possible outcome is something that people want you to do, that you want to do, and that's what I think I was able to create. I was gonna say find, but I think I was able to create with Season.
Yeah, the next and the last question that I have for you is, if I let's suppose that I am a non-technical founder. I have an idea. I have the capital to invest in my idea, but I don't know where to start it. What would be your recommendation? Could be books, could be maybe Canvas or something, some tool. What were? What would be?
I'm gonna say this for I don't know how many times I have to, but I have only one answer for this, which is um, sell something to someone. The Don't think about a product initially. Don't try to I don't know, reach 10 people before you were able to reach one. This kind of thing, and that will make your life much easier when the time comes to create a product. Only in a culture like ours, where we see being the Uber founder as the ideal. Of course, not Uber, because there's a lot of controversy. But let's say being Tesla, being Elon Musk, or I don't know. There's controversy everywhere now, but being a Larry Page or whatever. I don't want to escape from the controversy, but even only in a culture that values so much product, that people would think that selling something to someone is counterintuitive. But it kind of is, because every time I tell this to a non-technical founder, I feel like they are frustrated by it. They are frustrated to the point of sometimes dismissing the advice, or sometimes, yeah, it ends up not being so helpful just to say this. So maybe I should come up with something else.
I think that that's important. If from my point of view, the first step is have an idea. That on my situation, I was a non-technical founder with an idea. The next step is sell or convince someone. From my end, that is a good idea. Sell the idea. It's a if someone or some niche understood and connect with the idea, it's a from my point of view, it's a good concept.
Yeah, but I think one thing that's important to remind people is that it's not because the first step is to sell something to someone that you're gonna be always just selling something to someone. For example, just today, there is a guy I'm talking to, and he reached out to me to say that the developer he was working with, it didn't work out, and he's gonna have to start from scratch, and he spent all his money. The unfortunately, a very common situation with non-technical founders. And then my answer to him was, how open are you to changing the idea? Because his idea is a marketplace, and I'm, in order not to tell what he's doing, I'm gonna leave it like that. It's a marketplace. And how open are you to change the idea in a way that you can start now without a developer? And his answer was, I don't see the scale in that. That's a very common answer, right? And the I hadn't had a chance to respond. Maybe I'll practice here with you. But you don't need scale at the beginning in order to reach scale later on. You can't. It's almost the opposite. You need to do things that don't scale, like Paul Graham says, before you are able to learn and then scale, automate stuff. It's kind of hard, this first step question, because someone can do this and fail, and then have to do this again and fail, and have to do this again and fail. And the worst part is that sometimes you know that if you had a product, maybe you might have not failed, because sometimes technology is the bottleneck in your value proposition. Sometimes technology is what's missing a product, a custom built product. So yeah, sometimes when that's the case, and you fail and you fail and you fail again, maybe you should change the sell something to someone. Maybe you should raise money to create the product, but first you need to sell the not only the idea but the project to investors. And you might fail again and have to do it over and over again. So it's a hard path. Being a startup founder is really hard. Being a non-technical founder is also really hard. And you might think that it might be even harder. I don't believe that, but I'm sure it definitely seems so at some points. Like, oh man, the cards are stacked against me, because I don't even have the technical person that could build my vision. But the truth is, if you had a technical person, it would be hard as well. So you need to sell something to someone and then persevere.
It's a hard path, full of discoveries, full of mistakes.
Yeah, and sometimes you spend all your money on the wrong thing, and only if you turn that into learning, that later on makes you get your money back, or at least wisdom back. You will make sure it's always a worthwhile endeavor. It shouldn't be worthwhile only if you succeed. Otherwise, 9 out of 10 people would be miserable.
I think this idea of not focus on scale at the beginning, but instead of it, focus on validation of an idea. It's a very, very wise thought about this process.
But let me make it more clear. It's not about validating the idea. It's about doing business. You're not validating your idea. You are selling something to someone and providing a service to someone while you're making your life better through technology. An example, at Airbnb, the founders travel to take pictures of the rooms for I don't know how long, but they were doing themselves the manual work that they did not have any scale, but it was they're not doing this because they were validating their idea. They were operating Airbnb. They were not testing Airbnb. They were operating Airbnb, and then over time they couldn't do it anymore manually, like in person. And then they created ways to attract photographers and a network. And then they, over time, they built offices around the world. And in the meantime, they were building their tech. So it's very important to understand that it's not you validate an idea and then you build a business. You build a business from the get-go, and you validate many ideas over time. And that's something that's it's a trap on the lean startup thinking. You It's 100% unintentional. It's quite the intention quite it's quite the opposite, but people see the idea of validating an idea and forget that they are already in business when they're doing that. You're a product owner. What does it mean to you, at least, to be a product owner, a PO?
Yeah, but represents the customers. In our case, the customers. Uh,
Yeah,
be, be ahead of their pains, trying to understand the whys. Uh, a big part of my job, from what I'm learning, is understand the why behind things. Understand the why behind clients' demands. The Here in season, we don't only work with the product in the end, with or work with data. If the our clients need data, and we need to understand why. If the operation team needs something, we need to understand why and translate this why and check if the value behind this why, helping prioritize things. Um, I guess these are the two more highlight things for me. Understand why,
yeah,
helping prioritizing, and make things done.
yeah. But I love the idea of being a representative of your clients' clients, or your clients' customers, or your clients' users, our clients' users. Because I don't know, when you say it like that, it, it becomes crystal clear what you need to do. You need to do what's best for them, for the people that are using the product. I loved it. Loved it. Yeah.
That phrase I will quote. It is a quote from Eric, our Scrum Master. I'll give him the yeah, the credits. It's for him, but I tried to internalize this concept, and it was a turnout point for me. It was a
Yeah, and probably if we talk to Eric, he's gonna say, "Oh, this phrase comes from," and then he's gonna say who deserves the credit from it, and so on and so on. Well, maybe not. Maybe he created. Yeah.
yeah, but for me, it's the most. This was a phrase that represents what I'm trying to do, and of course, I'm still evolving as a product owner, as a product professional. I still have a lot of things to learn, but I think this is a core value of the position.
The idea of this backstage talks is so we can really share anything that's not confidential, especially our clients' confidential information, but share with people our process. What is the biggest challenge in your work today, and how can I maybe help you with it?
Right now, the client that I'm working with is a client that is more he already he's have a business running, so we already have a clients, traffic, users, and we have a lot of ideas, a lot,
Yeah.
the client and the team, we have a lot of ideas, a lot of
Yeah,
ideas.
they were being like they spent a few years without a technical team that could implement their ideas. So I think they have like a stock of ideas.
Yeah,
They want to validate, right?
yeah. And the thing that we're struggling the most is understand what has more value, which idea has more value to implement. And sometimes the value and and for me value is not only related to ROI or return over investment. It's related to sometimes mitigate risks, is to make the operation smoother, is to maybe get a possibility to growth in the future. And this is the thing that we're struggling. I think we're doing a good job, but yeah, this is the place where it's hard. There is a lot of things that we could do right now. Like it has data, it has growth, it has marketing stuff. There's a lot of things.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it would be easy for us to say that this is our client's job, understanding what's more important, right? That's not our job to help them figure this out. It's at the same time we are the ones, I think, both of us, the client is amazing, doing an amazing job of research and doing everything they can to come to us with the idea in a great place. But since there are so many of them, they we are all of us are like, wait, which one should we do next? But I love that you're thinking of it like, how can I help them understand this and figure this out instead of waiting for them to, because in the end they will be the one that will make the call, right? but but it's much more fun when you're thinking about the why, then I don't know, for me then it's when it becomes interesting.
Yeah, this creative part of the job is one of the parts that I like the most. The contact with the clients, the talks, the understand the whys, having new ideas to solve problems, uh, make things work is very richful. It's very rich. I learn a lot, and these clients specifically are very focused on make things done and try to get the most, the sometimes even the best way to do something. They're very focused on details, and this helps a lot to improve and make things better. Yeah, it's good, but sometimes do the best thing possible is not the best idea. So we're learning. Yeah, even with them, there are more experienced guys, still non-technical founders, still learning. We are together. I feel like we're like really tied up in the path of discover things,
Yeah,
and I think this. I work in bigger companies before, and I think this never ends. And like have this in mind that discover never ends is important.
thank you so much, I really enjoyed our conversation. I'm looking forward to another one a couple of months ahead, or I don't know how many weeks ahead, so we can see if your definition changed or anything else. It would be amazing. Thank you, man.
Oh, thanks a lot. As I said before, I'm really glad for the invitation. It was a great experience. It's every time it's good to talk to you. It's always great.
Awesome, man.
Thanks a lot, Daniel. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye, people.